And try and demonstrate problem 6.4, and I only have 10 minutes, so you might need to stop and start it. But basically, we're going to journalize transactions in our new journal. And this first problem is the wilderness rentals. So the revenue is like equipment revenue. Okay, here's their chart of accounts. The accounts that are in their ledger, and the transaction or the instructions, say to record on page 1 of the general journal. So let's make sure that we put page 1 here. And then we're going to come back here, and it just says, to do the 6 steps that I talked about in the previous videos. We wrote check 310 on January 1st for a salary. Okay. So I'm going to guess up here that we have a salaries expense. We do. And we wrote a check. So we know that that is going to be cash. So first thing we do is write the current date right here. We're just going to always assume that goes in that first cell. I think it was January and 1st. Okay. The amount debited is going to be the expense, so salaries expense. And this is a column for posting reference that we will talk about in the next chapter. And the debit, I don't remember, was for $270. Okay. And then it's the same date, so we keep that. And then you're supposed to indent the credit. So I'm just going to hit the space bar a couple times, and I'm going to write cash. And then I'm going to come over here, write the credit. And the source document was a check number 310. And here you're supposed to indent even further. So I'm going to do that. Okay, so that's our transaction, the 6 steps: the date, the account debited, the amount of the debit, the account credited, the amount of the credit, and the source document. Transaction 2 is on the 3rd. We bought $2,000 worth of camping equipment on account from Adventure Equipment. So it's an asset that's increasing, and it looks to be an accounts payable that's increasing. So I'm going to come up here and look at my assets, camping equipment. Okay, so it was the 3rd, and camping equipment is the debit for $2,000. And the credit was to an accounts payable. I'm just going to take a guess at what that was so I don't have to bounce between them. And the credit. And then my source document was invoice 320, Adventure Equipment. Okay, so there is my second transaction. On the 5th, we received $500 from a client for equipment rental. Receipt $150. Now remember, a receipt was a source document where you received money. Okay, and this looks to be a revenue transaction, equipment rental revenue. Okay, so cash is going up. That's going to be my debit. The rental revenue is going to be my credit. So on the 5th, cash and revenue is going to be the credit, and it was a cash receipt, or just receipt, I think would work, $150. All right. On the 7th, we wrote check 311 to pay the electricity bill of $110. So I'm going to guess that that is a utilities expense. And then we wrote the check. Okay. So on the 7th, the debit is going to be utilities expense. Remember, expenses are always a debit, never anything else. And we wrote a check. So we know that cash is the credit. And it was check number 311. They generally go in order. So here's 310, here's 311. Okay, let's see. 11. On the 11th, we billed a client, Polk and Company, $1,700 for rental equipment. And it is an invoice, 262. So this is us doing revenue. So this is going to be accounts receivable, and rental revenue is going to be the credit. So on the 11th, gosh, 1,700. And then this is going to be an invoice. Whose number? I forgot, 262. Do I have to put sales invoice? You don't have to. They'll call them purchase invoice, sales invoice. One of those will be fine. Okay. On the 12th, the owner withdrew $800 for personal use. Check 312. So that's going to be our withdrawals account. And that, like an expense, is always going to be a debit. Okay. Hold a check. So cash is the credit. And okay. And the indenting these just makes it a lot easier to read. So I would suggest that you do that. If you're skipping it, it's going to be kind of hard to read when we go, and we have lots of these in a journal. All right. On the 14th, we bought a $300 scanner for the office from Digital Tech Computers on account. So I'm going to go look and see what the asset is up here. It looks like we have office equipment, and then our accounts payable for Digital Tech Computers. So that is on the 14th. So 14th, office equipment. I spelled that wrong. And the amount for that is going to be $300. And Digital Tech Computers. Okay, and then we're going to have an invoice of some sort from that company. And the invoices never go in order because they're from different companies. So it's not like a check where you know what the next check number is going to be. Okay, 3 more. On the 16th, we wrote check 313, $1,000 as a payment towards the amount that we owed to Adventure Equipment from this transaction up here. Okay, so we're writing a check to pay off part of a accounts payable. So when an accounts payable goes down, that is a debit. So we'll put that here. We're decreasing the accounts payable, and we are also decreasing cash. And that's going to be a check 313. Okay. 25th, we received $1,700 from Polk and Company in payment on their account. So that was where we billed them for their rental revenue. Our receipt number 151 on the 25th. And it looks like I'm going to run out of time. So we will stop this, and we will have a second quick one to finish up.